choice. We are all telling ourselves a story.
You're listening to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. 100% listener-supported radio. Reporting the danger. Unafraid. Right here.
Then it looks like he might be waiting.
Revolution Radio.
I couldn't hear you.
You
Say
can
that
put him in
again.
there. I think he's in there, Zen.
Okay.
Most are afraid of unknown depths, skirting shores thinking world flat, and with the island girls in celebration of new religion.
I added him, so he just has to jump on.
Nobody led me
You got him
or
in there,
said
Zen? It says 3 out of 5 are in the call.
makeshift raft with winds compatible. Fate for deliverance, confidence enough to assess new disposition. Seekers of lost paradise may seem fools to those who never sought the other world. Welcome to Momentary Zen with Zen Garcia. Visit www.fallenangels.tv. You're listening to Revolution Radio.
Hello, shalom, and welcome everyone to another amazing show with Tim Schwab from the God Culture YouTube channel. This is not Zen Garcia, as you can tell. This is Lisa George, your host, and I'm so happy to be back. Zen is setting some things up. Brother Zen, are you there?
I am. I'm here in the background. Just
Right
gonna
on.
be, running the technicals, but hopefully Tim will join us, and you guys can talk about the amazing conference that you just went to.
Oh, yes. Oh, my goodness. That was such an awesome experience. I just wanted everyone to hear your voice then, that yes, you are still here, and that it sounds like you're still recovering pretty well, brother.
Yes, yeah, I'm still having issues with, holding loud conversations and extended duration for broadcasts.
Yes, yes. So I'm so happy to help out in whatever way I can. And now that I'm back here, I'm still recovering from a little bit of jet lag. I'm still trying to get back on a normal schedule here, but just kind of sleeping whenever I can. But because it's a super long flight, oh my goodness. When we just for those of you who don't know, we were at this amazing conference that Zen was mentioning in the Philippines, hosted by one of the largest and fastest growing online churches there, but they also meet in person. And so this conference, there was probably almost 5,000 people there. Tim Schwab was one of the speakers, Tim and his wife Anna, and we were hosted by them. They were such an awesome couple. It was so cool to meet them in person and to meet more people from their whole team. We're hoping that Zen, maybe you can bring Tim in. Tim, can you hear me? I'm not sure if Tim is on here yet.
I don't see him. I added
He's not in there.
him. All he has to do is jump on. So.
Okay. I sent him a message also, and it looks like it says there's like 3 out of 5 in the call, so I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it.
Yeah, I added
tried
2
to call
of
me
the
earlier in there.
addresses that I had
Yeah.
for him. So whichever
Okay.
one he appears on, he'll automatically join the call.
Okay, great. All right, well, I can talk a little bit first while we're waiting for Tim to come on here. For those of you who don't know, Noble and I decided to pay a visit to Tim and Anna in the Philippines. They invited us to come, and it just so happened that there's this awesome conference going on at the same time while we were there, so we were able to be a part of that. For those of you who knew about this, you can go onto the God Culture YouTube channel that is run by Tim and his beautiful wife, Anna. And you can look at their content. They have hundreds and hundreds of videos up on there. They've been doing this awesome research about the lost history of the Philippines for the past 10 years, I believe. And their findings have just been amazing. That was kind of what drew us to supporting their ministry in the first place, is because this Noble's Filipino, we have close connections to the Philippines, and we actually visited there in 2019, And this was just maybe a year or so after I had first watched some of the God culture videos. And I shared them with Noble, shared them with our family, shared them with a group that we were traveling with to visit the Philippines in 2019. And just knowing this history, it just made it so much more special. Like to know that the Philippines is in the Bible under different names. And to have this conference that just drew everybody together who's been following this research, plus people who hadn't heard of it before, and to see the people actually be able to reclaim their lost history and to know that they are Ophir in the Bible. There's really awesome evidence to prove this on so many different levels, historically, biblically, that this so-called lost land of Ophir is not really lost. It's been there all this time in the form of over 7,500 beautiful islands in East Asia. And just knowing the Filipino culture and all of the things that they've been through as a cultural group worldwide, and the things that they're prophesied to become in Scripture, is just, it's mind-blowing to see the people in the Philippines actually realizing who they are, and that their history is biblical. And because it also too in the Philippines, it's like over 90% is Roman Catholic. And so they already kind of have a little bit of knowledge, at least of the pagan holidays, at least, and they at least know who Jesus is. Like that, that's what they call him. They at least have like some type of basic foundation. And it looks like, oh, hey, it looks like we got Tim here. Oh my goodness. Good to see you, Tim.
Hey, Lisa,
brother.
how you doing?
Hey, pretty good. I am trying to give a little recap without giving too much away about that awesome conference we just attended in Davao City in the Philippines, and how it was so cool to just see the people in person realizing who they are, and to just hear them chanting, we are Ophir, and to realize that this is their culture that's been lost for how many years, and that just to be a part of helping them realize that again. And you guys were a huge part of that, Tim. So let me introduce you again real quick. This is Lisa George, and I am hosting Tim Schwab from the God Culture YouTube channel. I'm so happy to be back after about a month-long break that we took to travel to the Philippines, and we were hosted by Tim and Anna. It was so awesome to get to know you guys in person, Tim. And maybe if you could give out your contact information real quick, and then we could talk a little bit about the conference and whatever. If you have other information you want to present, then we're just wide open here. Zen is here also with us too. He is just not able to talk for extended periods of time, so I offered to go ahead and host. So go for it, Tim.
Well, our website, thegodculture.com, it really leads to everything. We have like a dozen websites, so you can get to any of our other websites there. We've published about 12 books now in 4 years or so, and you can find them on Amazon and Shopee Philippines. Just go to our website, click on the links from there, and they'll take you to all the different routes. We are about to launch a 13-week series, which will be a live studio series with a live audience even. And it will include a small group study. And this is about our finding of the Philippines as Ophir, Sheba, and Tarshish, and the Garden of Eden especially. And then beyond that, we have a new app that is almost done and should be launched pretty soon. We have our approvals, and we're just moving toward the final phases now. And when we launch that, we're going to be launching our series. We're going to be launching the small group study and moving from there. And you can communicate with us, anybody that has any questions or anything. We really do try to answer. Email. Email's the best format, just thegodculture@gmail.com. Check out our YouTube channel, but we're on many platforms. We do not rely on just YouTube. If we did, we'd be dead.
Oh my goodness. That is true.
Channel, I know. So.
Exactly. We know that very well. But yes, continue, Tim. Thank you.
So just go to YouTube, just search even on Google for The God Culture. We come right up. It's pretty easy to find. So there you go.
Yes. And so I was giving it just not even a recap. I just mentioned that we attended this amazing conference in Davao City with you guys. That Tim was one of the major speakers there, and just to see everyone. I mean, there's thousands of people there, and to see everyone all in one accord, worshiping together, and then learning this material together, and just to see people's reactions. I mean, at one point, like during the praise and worship, it was all in Tagalog, and just to hear in their native tongue these people just like praising, worshiping, and knowing that they were like the Levites in the past, I just had like tears streaming down my face. It was such an awesome experience.
Me too. And it's the same every time we've had a conference, especially with this particular congregation. But even there's another in Davao that we've also spoken at, the smaller gathering, but still very intense and very deep questions. This is a people who is awakening, and it is the most exciting thing that I've ever witnessed in my life. That's for sure.
Oh, me too. I'm so happy to be a part of that, and just for you guys to invite us and host us and just like introduce us. I mean, that was just such an honor, and just I can't wait to come back. I'm back home now, and it's kind of nice to be home and settled and everything, but I can't wait to come back. It was just, the people there are just amazing. I know, right? Well, hopefully, Yah willing, next year is what we're aiming for. We have a bunch of stuff to take care of here before we make our way back over there, but that was a huge highlight of our trip.
Well, it was, and it was probably one of the best conferences we, of course, have ever had. The dynamic of thousands of people is unto itself something, but beyond that, this is far more than just that. This wasn't a rock concert. I was teaching, just teaching the Bible, history, restoring, ancient maps, and the response of the crowd, even when they would see a map from 43 AD or 124 AD or whatever year that showed the Philippines on the map indisputably as the land of gold and the Garden of Eden. I mean, even just things like that, you could see this is a people who's ready for this knowledge to be restored, and they're ready to rise, and they are. I mean, you watch the things that these guys are doing. This particular church, they're announcing just in the last few days, they're running for political offices. They're not playing. They're rising up. Dude, that's pretty awesome. One of them, the bishop of the church, and he calls himself bishop. That's what they call him, really, because he has many pastors under him. Nothing to do with Catholicism. It's an independent church, but the dude is running for mayor. So
that's so awesome.
They're taking this research very seriously, partially because, and he would tell you in his own words, that Bishop Rod had done some of this research on his own, and he was finding some of these same conclusions, just didn't go, of course, as deep, understandably so. And, when our research came out, it was just, it rung, as truth in his spirit. He just knew. And man, I mean, even when we get together, it's amazing just to spend time with the guy, to see where he is in his life and how awakened he is. But again, he's not the only one. There's another pastor here who very much so is the same. He has a different approach, but it's the same. And we're finding that all over the Philippines in different spots. We have a lot of objections from, especially traditional churches who don't do research, who just go and look at a concordance and say, oh, well, the concordance says, right, but did it prove it? And did you test it? They just don't go that far. Pastors aren't trained to research. That's a problem in modern seminaries, unfortunately. And that's where folks like us and Zen, we all come in. We go and we plow through the research, and hey, nobody has to agree with it. But one thing you can't do is disrespect, that there's a position there that one should at least consider and hopefully, take seriously.
Oh, totally. And also too, when we met Bishop's son, he and his wife are like, I think they were the ones that you mentioned that introduced your whole teachings to the father, right? And he is totally, I mean, I wanted to ask you too, when you said that the people ask really deep questions, what are some examples of that you could think of that kind of like blew you away? Some of the like the more amazing ones.
One big question they start asking about is flat Earth.
Oh, there we go. Okay, that's deep. That's deep for them to go right there.
You shocked how often we hear that, guys. There is
Wow.
there's an awakening here, and so it's not just restoring that history and the position of the Philippines and the Filipino, but it's also a restoration of all knowledge in every way, because they're taking it further and deeper. But no, to give you an example, they'll take elements of the research and then they'll drill in on it, and some will even have a little knowledge, and they're asking a question. They're not typically, honestly, they're really typically not trying to debunk it or anything like that, but they're just asking credible questions, and they'll go to, let's say, something like the three kings, right? And they'll say, well, we have a tradition in this country of, Melchior, Gaspar, and the other dude, whatever his name is. And I can never remember their names, because I know it is fiction, right?
Yes.
And, we'll answer the question with research, with Psalm 72 especially, which David came right out and said that the kings of Tarshish, Sheba, and the Isles of Fear would be the ones that would bring the gifts to Messiah. The passage is clear. It's Messiah because he can save souls. He can redeem souls. All nations will bow before him. That never happened to Solomon. And even the beginning of the text in the King James says it's written for Solomon. Even some of the Jewish Bibles will actually go and say, oh, no, the Hebrew there really is by Solomon. In other words, this passage in Psalm 72 was written by Solomon, not by David. Now, I don't know that that is true. It may or may not be. It doesn't really matter whether it was Solomon or his father. The point is, though, it identifies where, the gifts that were given to Messiah just after his birth, 2 years after, actually, not at his birth. That's everything we have in the Christmas story, and I know we're entering that season now. Everything we have is embellished and mostly false. And I'm not sure why an entire paradigm of churches is teaching from a position that has been completely disproven, even from the pulpit. Most pastors know this. But anyway, so we'll answer that with the facts, and they will accept the facts. When you prove things to this people, it's very smart, educated people here, far more than most Americans would even realize. It's amazing.
Oh, it's so true. We met so many people there that have at least one college degree, if not two or three, and then they graduate really early there compared to the US. I mean, graduation is like age 16, from high school. And then they go into college pretty early. Is that right?
Well, that's true. And one of the benchmarks we use, I'd say even from infancy almost, for them in our paradigm is, anybody who can speak, 2 languages fluently is like amazingly, high IQ, right? Well, they graduate 3 languages, and they speak them all pretty well.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Oh yeah, that totally is. I mean, if anyone has any questions about the education of people in the Philippines, I mean, just one visit there is like, I was just blown away. I didn't realize, and the emphasis that they place on education as well. Although, there's good and bad about placing emphasis on public education, just because that's how they taught all of the false history, But in general, to have college degrees and be extremely educated, just even with the language, it's really apparent when you're there.
It really is. It really is. And we've been just enthralled by the whole thing. And of course, again, I don't want to paint a completely rosy picture, because we have our share of opposition. I'm not saying that academia here has signed off on our research. No, of course they haven't. Academia never does, especially not when you expose colonial narratives as false. So.
Yeah, they don't smile on that too much. Oh, and there's people in the chat. Matt Yahoo said he's trying to learn Tagalog. That's awesome. There's a lot of comments about your flat Earth questions. There's plenty of people that can answer all that in the chat. But yeah. I'm sorry, what?
I said we're not going to cover that today.
Yeah, I know. So, what would you like to cover today, Tim? Do you have something you'd like to present on? Do you want to continue talking about the conference? What would you like to do?
Well, why don't we continue on this vein, because this is something we never do. Actually, we never do this anywhere. Every place we go, we have a very, well prepared, presentation each time, and we always will pretty much when we come on. But I didn't do that this time, partially because of time. This month has been really crazy. And another reason, I get to go have a tooth extracted here in a couple of hours. So.
Oh no. Okay, that's something to not look forward to.
Not looking forward to it at all. So we can continue all day. It's okay, but.
Well, I think I'd like to also touch on a topic that you and I talked about quite a bit when I was there. A particular book that I brought you that was recommended by Zen to me, and I just wanted to thank Zen. Zen is right here with us, of course. Tim, he's in the chat, but thank you so much, Zen, for presenting the revelation of the Magi. I think you did that last year for the first time, Brother Zen, and it really, when I actually went in there and I ordered because what we have in the New Testament Apocrypha, Zen, I think is this just like a summary of this book. And there's just like a quick little blurb kind of to summarize a bunch of the different chapters. So I was really curious about what the book actually said. So I went on eBay and I got a copy for myself and I read it and I thought, oh my goodness, I think this is something that Tim and Anna from the God Culture would be really interested in because of the references to the islands of the East, to just a ton of references in there. And so I brought a copy of this book along when I went to the Philippines and gave it to Tim. And Tim, how many times have you read this book since I gave it to you?
Now probably 8, I think.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
We've been ripping through it. I tell you, Zen, I know you might not be able to respond, but man, brother, this was an amazing find. I didn't know anything about it. And we've been researching very heavily, especially the Three Kings is one of the revelations as far as the origin. From Psalm 72. Wow. This comes right out, and you can really look through the document. You can see it has a representation of Jesus, of Yahusha, that is extremely accurate to Scripture, because he is the light of the world. It says he, right? It says Genesis 1, really. And, this is really ties that all together in every aspect and attribute of the Messiah in this book is absolutely 100% on course. In fact, the book directly mentions his name, and the translator will tell you in his margin notes. He has many margin notes that are not very well researched. Unfortunately, this translation is good from what we can see, but this is one area where he's using things that say salvation. Well, the word, Yahusha, some say Yeshua, but whatever, the word means Yah is salvation. So when you see the word salvation as a translator, knowing that you're translating it from the Syriac, not the original language, probably Hebrew or maybe Tagalog, and I'll go there. But also, when you're looking at the text and you realize that salvation is a word in the text many times, and then you see things where even the Apostle Thomas is there and he's preaching about salvation. Well, yeah, of course. But he specifically says, those who believe on salvation. No, the word's Yahusha. The words, or Jesus transliterated the way that we do in our modern Bibles. It's the name, and the name is right there in the text even. So, but what we're finding is this text is vetting as factual, and it talks about the origin of, and I'm just to do this off the top of my head because we don't have anything prepared on this. But I'll tell you, Zen, we're writing a book on this now.
That's how it's so awesome that I think it's such a cool thing that just to awaken to this entire text. But okay, continue, Tim.
So check this out. As we research things, let me take one fascinating route before I go to geography. We looked at it. It lists 24 names. It talks about the 12, they're kings, they're sons of kings or princes, and they are wise men. Wait a minute. You mean Matthew was right when it says wise men? Yes. You mean David in Psalm 72 was right when he said they were kings? Yes. All of the above. This reconciles both and tells you that they were both. Some were kings, some were sons of kings, some were wise men. And one other thing, it talks about the word Magi, right? And then immediately every scholar I've ever read on the topic, and we did it too, assume that magos or magi is the Greek word. Therefore, what do? They go to Persia, they go to Babylon to find the sorcerers there, and then they forget that maybe of all the people on earth to inform of the son of Yahuwah's birth, maybe they're not on the list. Just saying. I mean, if you're going to invite people to a party, you probably aren't going to invite your enemies who want to kill. I'm just saying.
Yeah,
a little logic would go there, right? Okay,
Yeah.
so you look at it, and it says that the word magi does not derive from the Greek. Now, it's expressed in Greek. So, yeah, there's a word, magi or magos, in Greek. Yes, it's there, and it is in Greek. The New Testament's written in Greek, so we know that. But here's what we didn't know until we read Revelation of the Magi. The origin of the word magi is not Greek. The origin comes from the land of their nativity, where they come from. So you mean, because we trace that to the Philippines indisputably, we do it anyway before this book, but now we definitely do. But okay, so wait a minute. That would mean that these dudes are named with, at least some of them, right, should be Tagalog names. Wait, could that possibly be? Okay, well, we have names now. There's 24 of them because it has the sons and the fathers. So
right.
it's king. And the fathers are listed too. So we have 24 names that we can test. Guess how many that we can make an absolute 100% very solid connection to the Philippines.
Oh my goodness. Wait, how many?
9.
Oh
9.
my goodness. Wow.
9. Very solid. I mean, direct words from Tagalog and other in the Philippines. I'll give you a couple of examples to give you an idea. There's a dude named Wadwad. Now, that's really strange to us in America, right? And you go and you look at it, where in the world did that name come from? Wadwad, letter for letter, is a word in Tagalog. It is a word in Ilocano, and it is a word in the Visayan language, really in areas all over the Philippines. You know what it means? Scattered.
Oh my goodness.
Why would the scattered be there? And what scattered would be there? Could they be the lost tribes of Israel that have been scattered there? Well, that's a whole nother topic that we could go into someday, and maybe we will here, because we haven't covered that here yet. It means to till or to toil in Visayan, and it means much blessing in Ilocano. And it's just like, wow. I mean, okay, but the word is W-A-D in translation, and the word in Tagalog is spelled the exact same.
Wow.
It's the same. It's the same word. Now, that's number one. Let's go to the next name. Humam is a name of one of the kings or their fathers. I can't remember which it was, because in my list here we didn't break down which was a father or son. But either way, from the land of the three kings in origin, from their nativity. And humam is a Tagalog word, humama. And it means to dare or to challenge, confront. In Visayan, a word, and it means done, after, or finish. Direct, Tagalog, right there. There's
Wow.
another dude, Sanatruk, and you're like, well, where did that come from? Well, okay, there's a Persian king that bears that name. What happened? I'll tell you what happened. The translator went to Persia and found names there when he translated it, and he translated it into what matches the Persian, because obviously it's a corruption of the language. But if you look at it, Sana is a very well noted, one of the most used probably Tagalog words, such as in the phrase Sana all, and it means hope. Hope. How about that? And Turuk is Tagalog, and it means measuring depth. You know, so you have all of these things here that are so obvious. No, that one may not be quite as direct, although it is pretty close. You have another dude named Saban, and Saban is a direct Visayan word for propeller, like on a boat. And it also can be a Tagalog word, two words, sahaban, which is the banana tree skin and wheel. So you have this throughout, even in the Waray language. Saban is the mouth of a river. So it's a word used throughout the land. And no question that very well could be the origin. Well, when the geography turns out that it is the Philippines, that is their origin, land of nativity, especially in Psalm 72, remember, also in our modern Bible canon, which gives the territories of the three kings who never came from Persia, never came from Babylon, never came from Arabia, never came from India. These are all nonsense. The Indian one might make sense because the Indies, the islands, you know, of India, it would be accurate because the Philippines was part of that always. There's a dude, Baladan, right? And Bala is Tagalog for threat, and Adan is actually the name of Adam. In Tagalog,
wow.
Ilocano, they call him. Hello. Wait, that ties to the land of creation. That ties to the land of Adam and Eve, which the Philippines proves to be. So not only are you looking at words that are direct Tagalog and languages of the Philippines, but you're looking at meanings that actually tie to the meaning of the land, you know, in history, which is uncanny. These are impossible to make up.
Oh, totally.
Artaban, right? And we just saw Ban in an earlier name is Tagalog, but Arta is actually a language in the Philippines. The language is called Arta, and even Tagalog, Arta it means oops, or aha, or uh-oh. You know, it's an interjection that expresses doubt. So, and Ban, Artaban is Filipino. It's an exact match to the Filipino.
Wow.
Pronunciations, all of it. You have Araho and Arahan in Tagalog. It means the desire to compete with others. You have one they also fudged to try to make it look Persian, but when you look at the Ilocano language, it becomes pretty obvious. And it's Meradak, which is a Persian word, right? No, it's not. It's Rendako, which is to have and direction. Almost sounds like a people that would have taken a voyage with possessions from the Cave of Treasures to them. You know, these are things. Honestly, it is amazing how many of these. But here's biggest one. And it's not necessarily Tagalog, but it is a reference to the land of the Philippines. The name of one of the sons of Joktan, a brother of Ophir and Sheba, his name was Havilah. Okay? Now, in Hebrew, there's no V. So it would be Havilah, okay? But it's expressed in the text here because they're translating from Latin is the final form of the document at the Vatican. This is a Vatican document that's been there,
right,
you know, since like the 1800s in the Vatican. But prior to that, at the monastery in, I think, Sinai, and that's dated to like 800 AD. But they actually can see that this document was quoted in the 6th century before they made up the legend of Melchior, Balthazar, and Caspar. How about that?
That's a little suspect right there. My goodness.
But the guy's name is Hawilat, okay? And if you look at Havila, Latinized, is Eve, of course. That's where we get Eve from, the Latin form. It's really Hava or Hawa.
Hava. Yeah.
So Hawilat is Eve's name Latinized. That's all it is. It's Havila. That's what. That's
the one that that's the one that jumped out at me. Like out of all the names, I just was scanning it and I was like, wait a minute, Havila is in there. Oh my gosh, this is like definitely. So I did one, but you did the other 8. Oh my goodness. Okay, continue, please.
Those are there's 9, but those are I think I covered all 9 that we have that we feel are definitive. Now the rest I could take you down the route. And there are some uncanny close matches. There certainly seem to be, but they're not quite exact. One of the guys' names is Osiris, right? And if you look at the Tagalog language, Ahas is snake or serpent, treacherous person. Wait a minute. Isn't that part of the whole narrative of the land of the Garden of Eden? Interesting. So Ahas and Eras. So Asiras, Ahasuras would be the Tagalog, and that means anxious or uneasy. Also, Sarah is a Tagalog word that means broken or damaged or ruined. All of these really fits the narrative of the Garden of Eden.
Wow.
And again, that's one of the we say is not necessarily, it's just a possible match. The others we say these are matches. So we have, several forms. We also have forms here that are Hebrew, which would not be a surprise since what language did Joktan speak, who was Ophir's father, who migrated to the Philippines? Well, he spoke
Hebrew.
So we should be in Hebrew here. Now we have videos, and in our book we have a whole chapter where we found, at least I think in our research, at least 500 words that are Tagalog or similar languages in the Philippines, but you look at it and it looks to be Hebrew in origin. When the Spanish came here, some of the linguists that came said exactly that, like Padre Torino. He said that the Tagalog language has the mysteries and obscurities of the Hebrew language because it looks like Hebrew. A modern translator came to the Philippines to conduct a conference, and he said, had he known that Tagalog had such similarities to the Hebrew language, he would have expressed that from the beginning so that professors would know to teach it in that regard, with that as a foundation. Because when you connect the two languages, you start to realize it's actually very easy for a Tagalog speaker to pick up Hebrew, because they have several words in their language that are already of Hebrew origin, very likely. Why?
Yeah.
Because they're to Israel, King Solomon, but all the way back to Joktan. Joktan was a son of Eber. Eber's where we get Hebrew, even according to Josephus. Peleg is the first son. Joktan is the second. Peleg is the ancestor of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. He migrated from eastern Iran, Mashhad, Iran. We proved that. You can check out the research. He migrated from there to Ur and got stuck there until the days of Abraham. And then Abraham continued the migration to the western border of Shem's territory, which we call Israel today. It was the land of Canaan back then, named for Canaan from Ham, because Ham stole that land. Then you have Joktan, though. And Joktan you don't see much because in Scripture, because Joktan migrated to the Philippines, to the far east border of Shem. So that's well documented. Well, both of them spoke Hebrew. And see, Joktan left before the Tower of Babel was destroyed. Therefore, Joktan wasn't there. Ophir wasn't there in the confusion of languages. So if you want to really research the origin of original ancient Hebrew, you don't go to modern Israel that has an infusion, which is Yiddish, really. It really is not Hebrew. It has elements of it, yes, but it is not Hebrew. So we don't go to Israel and say, oh, well, that's the foundation of biblical Hebrew, when it doesn't even match. It has all kinds of new rules that weren't there back then. However, you to the Tagalog language and languages in the Philippines, who obviously have evolved and developed and added, that happens, very normal. And the Jesuits got a hold of it and changed it even more when they came. There's no doubt about that. However, there are elements there that survive, and it's all over, especially in geography, when you're looking at names of mountains that are direct Hebrew words, that it's just uncanny.
Oh, totally. And I love your maps that you put out in some of your books, also in your videos, of course, too. But, one that always catches my eye and one that I like to point out to people is the island of Panay. I mean, that it's facing where the Garden of Eden would be, and it's called Panay. And that's the total Hebrew word. It's just like, if you can't see that I mean, and there's hundreds of more examples of cities, mountains, rivers, geographical things that you guys bring out, Tim, and I really appreciate that information.
Well, and again, when we go down that route, I mean, can we follow that back and say that area was named specifically for that Hebrew word? No, we don't have that history, of course. That's the kind of history that the Spanish would have deleted. Understand, they came into this country, they deleted all 100% of the history here. However, Padre Chirino said that in the areas that he visited in the Philippines, 100% could read and could write in their native language. Now, I can't find another culture on all of Earth that has 100% literacy. Can you imagine that? Now, I'm sure there's some in the mountains or other places that he went to that weren't 100% literate, but some of these areas were, and that within itself, that tells you everything. It's like, wow. Okay, so wait a minute. What were they reading then? The Spanish said they were something. What were they reading? Where are the documents? Hello, Pope, give them back.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
I destroyed them, or they're sitting, in the basement of the Vatican, next to Lucifer, perhaps.
Oh my gosh. No, there has been some, and lately I think we discussed this too while we were there, but there has been some other really important documents that are even considered antediluvian that they're not the Bible by any means. They're even labeled as Gnostic, but Zen has brought some more of those teachings out as well, like the Book of Og of Bashan, that's a pre-flood writing, or the Book of Lamech of Cain. Those are some other, just in the past 10 years, all these interesting documents have been somehow released from the bowels of the Vatican, and this one is especially a blessing because of all of the links that you're finding, the ones that Zen has found, the ones that even I have found. It's just, it feels like you're kind of opening up actually like a gold mine in a way.
Well, it's the geography of this book, Revelation of the Magi, and I encourage everybody, go buy this book. It's even available in hardcover on Amazon. We didn't write it. It's by a translator named Brent Landau, and he's a Syriac scholar, which is the original language, and it's really translated from the Latin. So really, he's a Latin scholar, especially. And his translation seems fine. I mean, we don't have the original ourselves. No, we haven't been to the Vatican to find it, and who knows? Maybe we'll take a trip. If they don't kill us, and we make it back. Regardless, when you're reading this and you look at this geography, it's like, whoa, wait. Okay, so first of all, it says that it is in the extreme east. All right? By the way, Persia is not the extreme east, not in the first century. We know this because there were maps, even Eratosthenes in 200 BC, 196, I think it is. On his map, he has two islands southeast of China. He doesn't label them, but we know what they are. It's Ophir and Tarshish, or Chryse in Greek and Argyre in Greek, the lands of gold and lands of silver. We know that's the fact because that is what they were obsessed with in ancient geography. But we have first century maps like 43 AD from Pomponius Mela that label those islands that Eratosthenes has, on some of those reconstructions. And we can see that it is really Luzon Island, Philippines, is the land of gold, with Mindanao being the land of silver. That mindset has continued all the way through, especially 1490 on the Columbus map, 1492. We've shown those on this channel, but anybody can go and look at our research, read our books, and you'll find We publish all this stuff. We source all this stuff very, very accurately and directly. So, but yeah, but you look.
Oops, sorry about that, Tim. I just said it's very
extreme
very
east is
thorough.
what? What's the coast? Oh, thank you. So you can see that is where this leads time and time again. And I'm talking about a mindset over 6,000 years of mapping. So it's not like it was a question mark in geography. It wasn't. It only was to the British, and even some Brits knew this, like Sebastian Cabot, who was hired by the King of Spain, and in his contract is written that Tarshish and Ophir is his destination in part, and it's just north of Indonesia and south of China. Gee, where could that be? And silent. Really not too difficult. It's always been, and there's a Spanish map created in 1519, an eastern route to Ophir and Tarshish in the Philippines as well, called Spanish government document with the government seal on it. We have the actual one. And you read, even in the Spanish, you can read the directions and very clearly tell he's going to the Philippines as Ophir and Tarshish. These things have always been well documented. So the kings, according to Psalm 72, came from Ophir, Tarshish, and Sheba. So this, again, is no mystery. But now we have revelation of the Magi, which is a document dated, we know we can take it back to before the legend of the three kings from the Catholic Church. So we know, and it's a Vatican document, so we know the Vatican knew. Oops.
Yes. Yep.
And has been teaching an erroneous story all along so that they could hide what? The land of gold and the Garden of Eden, because they cannot admit that they went in and conquered that land, because people wouldn't like that so much.
Yeah, probably not. Oh, and also too, real quick, Tim, in the chat a little while ago, people in the chat know your content, which is awesome. And Brick mentioned that even in the song, there's a line that says "bright gold of Ophir." So even in the song of We Three Kings, it's in there. You guys brought that research out.
It's the same writer, but let me just explain. The guy John Hopkins Jr., who wrote "We Three Kings of Orient Are," what did he mean when he wrote Orient? Okay. And he's talking about, of course, the wise men came from the Orient. Well, he's not talking about Persia, because he wrote another song about the three kings. And by the way, this guy is a theologian, all right? He's not a songwriter, he's a theologian. So when he wrote a song, he had a developed theology that he was writing from that perspective. Why? Because he knew Psalm 72. That's why. He knew the kings came from the Orient, meaning the Far East, ultimately the Philippines. Whether he knew that exactly or not really doesn't matter. But then he says in the other song he wrote, "When from the east the wise men came." Okay, so it's another song about the three kings. And he specifically says, there's a line in there that says they brought the bright gold of Ophir. So they do make that connection, absolutely. And that's accurate.
Yes. And there's also another comment in the chat, and I'm sure you can answer this. What is your response? And this question is, I just kind of rephrased it. But what would your response be to Landau, Brent Landau? And we both discussed this already when we were in the Philippines. But what was your response to Landau claiming that Shir could possibly be China? Because in the chat, someone said, no, the wise men came from China, according to that book. So what is your response?
First, I think that's sheer nonsense. He didn't do any research. He's guessing. And by the way, having read all of his margin notes multiple times, he's full of such guesses. I mean, they're terrible. It's like, you know what? Why don't you just stick to translation, which is your specialty? You did a pretty good job with that. And on the other stuff, just keep quiet, because you don't know what you're talking about.
I know.
Right? Okay, so this is in the land in the extreme east, and it's called the land of Shur, S-H-I-R. Now, you do know that Shur is a Hebrew word that fits the prophecy of the Philippines 100%, because the Philippines is prophesied to sing a new song. Oh, wait. Shir Hebrew means to sing.
Yes.
Wow. I mean, you just can't get any more Filipino than that from Isaiah, as well as, the word. So the word is Hebrew. It bears a Hebrew name, which shouldn't be a shocker, because the connection to the Hebrew language, Ophir spoke it originally. So it's not a surprise to find, again, translators say over 1,500 words in the Tagalog language that literally appear to be of Hebrew origin. Wow. And again, some direct, pronunciations and I mean, you just can't really argue with it. It definitely has the synergy there. Okay, now, but here's what's really cool. Okay, so if you go to the land of Shur, and I'll just tell you this off the top of my head, being familiar with the Philippine geography, especially very intimately, we find that there is a mountain called the Mount of the East. That's in Genesis 10:30. That's where Ophir, Sheba, and Tarshish migrated to. And the Mount of the East, according to the Book of Jubilees, I think it's 426, but I might have the wrong verse, but I think that's what it is. Actually, if you look at that, the Mount of the East is a specific mountain in the Far East that also exists in the Garden of Eden. And Adam sacrificed on the Mount of the East after his exile, on top of it, where Adam found a cave, according to the Cave of Treasures. It became known as the Cave of Treasures because Adam stored what? Gold, frankincense, and myrrh there that was to be taken to Messiah at his birth. Also, they're the same resources that the Queen of Sheba, Cebu, Messiah's Philippines, which is where this cave is, where this mountain is, where this island is in the Philippines, right there. Oh, wait a minute. Revelation of the Magi calls this cave where the Magi meet the Cave of Treasures. And connected cave where Adam lived and the ancestors are buried. And that cave, if we ever find it, and we will search for it, I don't know that we'll find it.
We already have been. Yeah.
In fact, it is found in that cave. Probably will still find some gold, frankincense, and myrrh. They probably didn't take it all, but other things, and a greater treasure. Because you know what they kept there, Lisa? They kept Scripture.
Oh man!
So this is like a Dead Sea Scroll cave waiting to be found.
Yeah,
now,
it really is.
Because these are not the conditions of the Dead Sea, so everything is going to be pretty, denigrated at this time. There's no doubt in this humidity and everything else, but the fact that we should find something like that here. Now, we haven't found it, and I admit that because we haven't searched for it. Sorry, but we're just learning this. But now we believe that cave, because it's there in the Cave of Treasures, it's mentioned in Jubilees, it's mentioned in other places where Adam dwelled. So we really have believed that there'd be a connection there all along. But we thought, you know what, with the flood and everything, it's probably underwater. It's probably well hidden. It's probably not something that Yahuwah wants us to find at this time. But in the first century, according to the revelation of the Magi, they were entering that cave still, way after the flood. Wow. I mean, this is a revelation abounds here.
Oh,
Go ahead.
it is. It's such an awesome thing to even imagine. And also, too, I was going to mention when Noble and I were in the Philippines, and Tim, you know this, after we decided to go travel a little bit after the conference, that was the first location I wanted to go to, is to the Mount of the East, which in the Philippines they call it Mount Hibuk. And so Noble and I traveled to this specific island, Camaguin Island. We took the ferry over there. It took us a little ways to get there, but it was totally worth it. Such a beautiful island, and we actually drove up Mount Hibuk. We went to a hot spring that I was hoping maybe it was the same spring that the Magi bathed themselves in. And we did look for openings in the side of the mountain. But what was that?
Wait till you find out that the very name in the local language of the soda spring right at the base of Mount Hibuk is actually purification.
No way. Oh my goodness. Yeah. What is it in Tagalog? Do you know the name of that? Oh, that's okay. Sorry.
Yeah, I have that somewhere, but we'll save that for.
yeah, for next time. But yeah, no, that is awesome.
Mount Hibuk, you're speaking Hebrew again. You're speaking Hebrew, because Hibbuk is a Hebrew word, and it means sorry. So you're saying in English, Mount Sorry, sorry, when you reconcile it to the Hebrew. Wow. Now, the other thing is that mountain has a second name, an international name when it erupted way back in the I guess it was 1948 or something like that. It erupted, by the way, on the same day that communism was installed in China.
Wow. Oh my goodness. Wow.
That's amazing. It erupted the same day that Israel first started its assault on the Palestinians.
Wow.
I don't know. Is that connected? I don't know, but I believe the earth groans, and I believe that if we did follow the patterns of volcanic eruptions and major earthquakes, that there would be something to find. Again, you can manipulate that too, I admit, but I think that if you looked at it over centuries that we have studies, you would find that there's something to that. And we've done a little, but anyway, so that's astonishing. But get this, the other name is Mount Caterman. Okay, Qatar in Hebrew is the tree of life.
Oh, wow.
So it's the highest rung in Kabbalah. Now, Kabbalah is not, obviously we don't teach Kabbalah, but it's still Hebrew nevertheless. And Qatar is the highest rung of the tree of life, even in Kabbalah. So it literally is a reference to the tree of life. And it means in Hebrew, what? It means to make smoke sacrifices.
Sacrifices. Oh, right on. Tim, we're going to have to take a quick break here, but we'll see you guys. Everybody go get something to drink, eat, and we'll see you in a few minutes.
Radio at freedomslips.com. We'll be right back after this message.
We will not comply with the institution's sick illusion. No, it won't be televised. Welcome to the revolution. We will not comply with the institution's sick illusion. No, it won't be televised. Welcome to the revolution. They're trying to dumb us down. Don't want us to make a sound. We gotta get out of now, 'cause it's a revolution.
Revolution.radio, freedomslips.com.
Transcending time and space, let us take you to the place inside your mind where thoughts divide and mysteries unwind. Join us every Monday evening right here on Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Time. And you will catch the Fenton Perspective with our great host, Lorian Fenton. Come listen in as she shares her amazing stories from the past to present, along with all of her guest secrets to the future. That's the Fenton Perspective every Monday evening right here from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Time, only on Revolution Radio. Oh, and you don't need to expect us. We're already here.
If you think for 1 second that the Capitol will ever treat us fairly, you are lying to yourselves. Because we know who they are and what they do. This is what they do, and we must fight back. And if we burn, you burn with us.
Good evening.
Are you awake yet? I hope. We've tried and we've tried for years and years to use passive resistance and loud voices to make a change. But time is over. Your governments around the world have no other goal than to decimate your entire existence at the hands of the bankers and the elites. The war is coming, and it's your choice to decide if you want to be a warrior or a victim. Denial is not a choice anymore. Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, the #1 listener-supported radio station on the planet. Not giving up. Revolution Radio. All right. Thanks for listening while we took that short break here at Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. And now we're going to get back to your host.
Hello, shalom, and welcome back from break, everyone. We are here with Tim Schwab from the God Culture, joining us all the way from the Philippines. Sorry about that. I'm a little bit rusty with doing live shows here. It's been about a month. We actually just returned from the Philippines. For those of you who weren't here at the beginning of the show, Noble and I had an awesome time being hosted by Tim and Anna Schwab of the God Culture, and now we get to speak with him again. We were discussing a book that Zen had recommended to me. Zen actually presented on it, The Revelation of the Magi, and I brought a copy of it over to the Philippines to give to Tim and Anna. I just thought that they might be interested. Tim is holding it up there. I don't know if anyone can see you besides me, Tim, but also love your hat. And and then there's the book is The Revelation of the Magi. I'm sorry, what?
I said, thank you, Noble.
Oh, Noble would love to be with us right now, but we came home to a broken water heater. So Noble went out to Home Depot today, bought a brand new water heater, and he is in the process of installing it so we can take a warm shower. But yes, so that was an interesting thing to come home to. But anyway, so Tim has been presenting on the research that he's done on this amazing book, The Revelation of the Magi, and he was linking a bunch of the names, even the actual names of the Magi that are not listed in the summary for some reason, that is in the New Testament Apocrypha. But when I went out and bought, on eBay, a copy of the actual book, it lists all of these names. And I first of all noticed Havilah, like that was an obvious one to me. When I was reading through it, I thought, man, some of these names sound very Hebrew, but then Tim has broken them down, 9 of them as being Tagalog. So I think that that's an awesome thing to bring forward. And I'd like for you to continue where we left off right before break, Tim, when you get the chance. Oh, also, too, please follow Tim and Anna's channel, The God Culture, on YouTube. And Tim, maybe you could give a quick rundown of how to contact you, how to buy your books, your website, that information. Then we can continue where we left off.
So I'll keep it simple. You can just go to thegodculture.com and everything's there. It'll lead you to all the links. We have multiple sites and everything. Our books are for sale on Amazon worldwide. Actually, we're also in bookstores now. We're in Barnes & Noble, Books A Million. Can't even mention them all. I remember every one, but we have international distributors that have picked us up now, and the books are available all kinds of places. And in Philippines, if anybody's watching from here, it's available on Shopee, and you can just go to our website, click on any book, and the links are there, so it'll take you to the links for your area you can find. They're also available free in ebook mostly. So no, you don't have to buy anything. You can download the book for free and read it. We just hope that you'll review the position. That's all.
Yes, and their website is very comprehensive. There's so much information there. Actually, we were giving out the link when we went on our cruise last year to the Book of Enoch, which is, to me, is unparalleled because of all of the graphics and the maps and the introduction, and it's just an awesome color book of Enoch, and you can download that for free on their website. And so for those of you that want to read it online, it's right there for free. I just think it's such an awesome resource. If you have not checked out their book of First Enoch, that's one of my favorite publications. They also just recently released a book of maps that we purchased when we were at the conference, and that's awesome too. The full color graphics. If you're into maps, this is a book that you really want to get, because they have tracked down so many ancient maps that I've never even seen before, and just all the information that's involved in those is awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, look, understand this journey for us has been one of learning as well. We didn't go into this knowing any of this stuff pretty much. It's been amazing.
Yeah.
So back to, the center of the story in geography of the migration of Ophir, Sheba, Havilah, and their brothers, the sons of Joktan. They went to the far east. They went to Sephar, which is a reference to the tree of life in Hebrew, the Mount of the East. And, so the Mount of the East, I was mentioning before, is a famous mountain. There's one. Although there are, Enoch mentions 7 mountains of Eden, which, by the way, fit the same exact geography. And we break this down very, very well. Same geography as the 7 islands of Visayas. Exact. In orientation. And then also gives resources that are available within the earth, within those mountains. And, it turns out they fit Visayas. Exactly. We can find those resources being mined very specifically. Again, check out the research, see for yourself. Then you have the words of the Archangel Michael. And in that document found in the Dead Sea Scrolls, Michael talks about a righteous people that migrates before the Tower of Babel is destroyed. We're talking about Ophir. They migrate to the land where Gabriel resides. Well, Gabriel, according to Enoch, is the angel of the Garden of Eden. So you're going to the land of the Garden of Eden. So you have in Genesis that reference. You have it in words of the Archangel Michael. And Enoch, of course, maps the route to the Garden of Eden very specifically, northeast of the exit of the Indian Ocean, and that is the Philippines on every map in any context. I don't know any way that anybody could screw that up, really. Although I'm sure it's about map it. That's what we found. We've been creating maps that, like the Book of Jubilees, which also maps the Garden of Eden in the Philippines. And I can't find anybody that's ever mapped that before. I don't. They'll render directions and they'll say, that one direction in the middle. That must be, this. Well, wait. Before you go there, where was he before that? Where is he after that? Don't you think those matter before you start to render guesses as to where you are on a map? We did the exact opposite of that. We got very detailed and we mapped out. And this is in our publishing of the Book of Jubilees. It's in our videos. Again, Jubilees also free in ebook. So go download it, read it, look at the maps for yourself. But these are amazing because they show the territories of Shem, Ham, and Japheth very specifically. And the route to the Garden of Eden is there mapped within because, of course, Noah knew where it was. He grew up there, not in the garden, but in the land above it. Now, this Mount of the East connotation is incredible because in the book here, Revelation of the Magi, it calls it Mount of Victories. Now, it's the Mount of Qatar, where smoke sacrifices were made, where Adam offered the first offering of atonement, purification, right? Oh, wait, and then here in the book, we have a spring of purification, which is right there at the base of that mountain, which, by the way, we can find a match in the local language there. on the island to the soda spring that's there. However, here's what we can also find. The translator is missing context. When he mentions on the Mount of Victories, it almost Mount doesn't mean right. But here's the problem. That victories, if you get back to the original document, he had lack of version. So it's been translated into Latin, and then, of course, he's translating into English. You can't expect perfection. It's okay. Mount of Victories is fine, but the word victories in the Syriac language in Aramaic is zakah, right? It just so happens in Hebrew to have a meaning. Hebrew means clear, like the sacrifice of atonement after he was exiled from the garden. Wow. And he offered in that offering what? Gold, frankincense, and myrrh, according to the Cave of Treasures, which isn't scripture, but nevertheless is a useful book in gaining some detail as to how things go. The Book of Jubilees says that he, in fact, made
Hello, everyone. If you guys can hear me, that would be great. If you could put in the
Hey,
chat.
Lisa, we can hear you. It
Okay,
just,
good.
Tim is locked up, I believe.
Okay, yeah, I just noticed he signed out, so I'll talk a little bit until we can get him back on here.
Okay,
Just
great.
noticed that, yeah, there was some technical issues. Maybe if you can get him back on there, Zen, that'd be great.
Okay, yeah, I'm
so
going to
anyway,
invite him again.
Okay, thank you, Zen. So yeah, sorry about that. We're having some technical difficulties, everyone. We're going to try to get Tim back in here so he can continue his amazing research that he's sharing with us. Just wanted to discuss some of the books that he has on his website. You guys can go check that out. Thank you so much, Tammy and Sherry. You guys have put the links up there for thegodculture.com. You can go on there and go look at their books. Their books are awesome. Like I was saying earlier, one of my favorite ones that they've published is First Enoch, and you can read that for free with the link on the website. And one of my favorite parts of that book is that they've published is all of the graphics. I mean, they have maps in there that you can follow along when Enoch is taking his journey through the Middle Earth, or or the underworld, and then he comes back up. He's taking his journey over the earth, and then he has his journey in the heavens. They have all of these directions and everything there with their biblical geography mapped out so well that you can follow along right on their maps that they have as you're going through the book of Enoch. That was something that was always kind of like a challenge for me when I was going through the book of Enoch. I mean, I've read through it so many times now, but when I was first going through there, I could not imagine where Enoch would have been when he's viewing all of these things, all of these fragrant trees he's passing over, the angel Zotiel. I was trying to figure out where all this might be. But the way that they've mapped it out and they back it up with scripture and with their other historical research, geographical, they back all of that research up in the book of Enoch that they've published. And to me, it's really mind-blowing. And then they also have videos for the entire series if you want to go through the book of Enoch with the God Culture. And if you have the book of Enoch either downloaded for free off their website, or if you buy a copy like I did on Amazon, or on their website, you can purchase copies there. it's amazing to be able to even use it as a teaching tool like I did. You can go through it on your own and just be able to visualize where all of these really pertinent sites are that Enoch saw. And it's so important to know, especially for the last, and here we are in the last days. And I'm noticing too in the chat, yes, we definitely want to have prayers going up for everyone who's affected by Hurricane Milton in Florida. It just sounds like it's going to be a really catastrophic event. And we just pray that the protection of the Most High over everyone who's involved there. I know a bunch of you have mentioned that you have loved ones that are there. And I see everybody's mind is really geared toward these people that are trying to flee and escape. And it sounds kind of like a similar situation that happened here in Hawaii last year, where they're blocking exits, they're cutting off the gas supply. I mean, who knows what else is going on there, but we just ask that the Most High please have your protection over that whole area in Florida. We thank you, Father, for being with those people and for keeping all of our loved ones under your protection, Father. I know that there's some anxiety that's been going on, and rightfully so, because of all our loved ones that are affected by this storm that we know is not from Father. But we just ask that he has his protection over everyone. We thank you so much, Father, for just considering us and for hearing our prayers, Father God. So I just wanted to kind of touch on that too before we keep going. I also know that Tim and Anna both have family in Florida, as well as I'm sure a lot of you guys do. I'm seeing here in the chat. And thank you guys for all of your prayers as well. For the program, we pray that Brother Tim is able to get back in here and to continue presenting his information, that whatever's going on technically, that will be able to be overcome here. And we just thank you, Abba, for having control of all things and for having all of us under your care. And we ask this in Yeshua's name. Amen. Anyway, so I'm looking more here in the chat to see what you guys' comments are. Thank you so much for all of your participation. And if you do get a chance, go check out the God Culture website. Another one of the books that we really use in some of our studies that they have on their website is Second Esdras. Their copy of Second Esdras that they've published has an amazing introduction. And they've actually done the research and discovered whose library were the Dead Sea Scrolls. A lot of scholars have said that they could be the Essenes or the Pharisees. It looks like we've got Brother Tim back. Oh, praise Yah. Tim, can you hear me?
Yes,
Right
I
on.
hear you.
Right on, right on. Okay, good to see you back. I was giving a rundown of your website, and Noble wanted to say hi as well.
And she was running out of things to say, Tim. Good timing.
And I noticed he's his hat. I told him, nice hat.
Yeah, I heard you. I was downstairs wrestling the water heater.
Good.
Okay, great.
Sounds
We
like-
could hear you good. Yeah, sorry about that. Something happened with the technology, but I'd like you to continue wherever you can remember where you left off. That would be awesome.
All right, so how far did I get with the Mount of the East? Did I talk about the Mount of Purification and the Word?
Yes, you the last thing, because it was kind of fuzzy for a while there, but the last part that I heard you describing was the soda spring and the purification. So if you could pick up around that time, that would be
All right.
awesome.
So the word the translator is looking at from the Syriac original language, that again he's looking at a Latinized form of it, is zakah, and that's where he calls this the Mount of Victories. Well, it's not the Mount of Victories. It's not Mount Olympus or whatever. It's actually, if you go to Hebrew and you look at the word zakah, it actually means clean, clear, pure. So literally, this is the Mount of Purification, just as the Mount of, or the Spring of Purification. So that's really what we have here. So now what would that be? That'd be the mountain where Adam actually made the first sacrifice of atonement on the Mount of the East. It's all the same thing. So this is the Mount of the East. And also we know that the Cave of Treasures is on the Mount of the East. That's where Adam lived. That's where the ancestors from Adam all the way to Noah, Noah left because of the flood, but all the way up to Noah, even Noah's sons were raised for centuries right there in, well, here in the Philippines, which is an amazing thought, but something that we really do about literally, geographically. That geography has always been there. So this light, or I'm sorry, I'm talking about light. This mountain is a famous mountain in all of history. It's not just some mountain that's in the east of the earth somewhere. It is very specifically the Mount of the East. Did I talk about Enoch and, because I did, but you may not have heard any part of that. Did I talk about the mountains of Eden, the 7 mountains of Eden?
Yeah, please review that. I didn't hear that part.
Okay. All right. So Enoch defines 7 mountains of Eden, which are an exact fit to the 7 islands of Visayas in orientation and in resources. The words of the Archangel Michael takes it further and talks about 9 mountains of the east. What's he talking about? He's talking about the 7 mountains that Enoch defines as the 7 mountains of Eden, plus 2. What would you add to that? Well, they're in Visayas. You add 2. You add Luzon and you add Mindanao, the 2 largest islands of the Philippines, obviously, and you have 9 mountains of the east. So there are 9 mountains of the east, and anybody can go and debate those all they want. Well, which is it? Okay, whatever. They're all in the Philippines, and the point is, this is in the Philippines. So it really, I mean, it narrows this down in so many ways. This is affirmation of our research on a level that shows that the Vatican knew all along. The Vatican knew what the Philippines was, and that's why they came here. It was the land of gold and the Garden of Eden all along, and the Vatican knew it.
Yep.
Because they had documents, and they refused to release them in English until recently. This translation was not released until 2010.
Right.
Prior to that, you'd have to speak Latin in order to read. Who does? Not many.
No.
So that's how you hide knowledge.
Oh, totally. Wow. And your research about the 7 mountains, that while we were having some technical issues, I was describing your book of First Enoch and how your directions, the maps that are in there, and how when people purchase that book or they download it for free from the website, they can actually follow along. That was something I really struggled with the book of Enoch before I came across your research, was the directions and what part of the world are we looking at here when Enoch is passing over the angel Zotiel? Like what is that?
Yeah.
I couldn't visualize it until I saw your maps.
That's right. And us either. I mean, the amazing thing is that when we went on this journey, we did not realize that Enoch was going to affirm our findings. We actually were not even going to release anything that the Philippines was the Garden of Eden, because we had some connections in linguistics, but that was it. And so at that time, we left Solomon's Gold series, proving that it was Ophir, Sheba, Tarshish, and we moved on to our Flood series. But in our Flood series, we're reading the flood account in Jubilees to affirm Genesis, which it does. However, we then get to chapters 8 and 9, where Noah actually defines the earth. He divides the earth 3 ways between his 3 sons, and specifically he gives directions to the Garden of Eden. So what we did is we mapped them out. We didn't know that it was going to lead to the Philippines until we mapped them out.
Wow. That must have been a huge revelation for you too, as you're mapping, all of a sudden realizing, oh my goodness, it's all leading to Ophir. Wow. That is cool. Brother Tim, are you still there? I think we might be having a technical issue again. Okay. Until Brother Tim gets back here, maybe Zen, you could check his connection. Tim, I'm not sure if you need to sign out again and come back on. I'm not sure what's going on. I can't hear you, but I'm going to continue talking a little bit until we get the technical issues ironed out here. We were just discussing his research from the book of First Enoch and the maps that are located there. And it's not just the maps. You can actually go and watch their videos. If you don't even have to buy the book or download it. But I know most of you out there that you're listening, you guys are all like readers like I am, and you want to see it visually for yourself. So I would recommend downloading the book. You can also watch their videos. But they also have some videos about the animal farm vision that is at the end of the book of First Enoch. If any of you have read through the entire book of First Enoch, you know what I'm talking about. Enoch has this vision that traces history all the way from Adam and Eve in the garden, all the way through prophecy up until the last days and the tribulation. And it's really cool to be able to link all the different animals that they describe, and to you can kind of become familiar with it when you read through it, and you'll notice that certain animals have these certain aspects about them that there's no way that can be anybody else except for that particular patriarch. And it's cool how the God culture does that visually within their book of Enoch. They have drawings, they have visuals, also in their videos that they've done on this part of the book. I think they have a series of 3 on the animal, what they call the animal farm, or the animal vision, with all of the different creatures that are used to depict the bloodline of Cain versus the bloodline of Seth. And so you can trace it that way. But I love how they do it, because it's all visual. It's like little graphics of the different types of sheep and cows and rams and all the different birds. It's really amazing to be able to have that visually in that particular vision. But so I really think that their biblical geography is unparalleled that they've uncovered here, and you can find those in their books. We also use the book of 2nd Esdras to teach. And for those of you that have read through this amazing prophetic book, it really has like overtones of revelation, of all the different prophetic books that are in the Bible. And technically, you know, it should still be in the Bible as part of the 14 books of the Apocrypha that were most recently removed in the 1800s to most of the English Bible translations. Although you can still find it in some of them. I mean, even like the Catholic Bible still has the Apocrypha in there. You can find 2nd Esdras in there as well. But this amazing prophetic book, if you have not read through 2nd Esdras yet, I would highly recommend that you do so. Just because we've done that as well in Digital Readers Club here in Zen's channel. And just the different prophecies, they really come to life when you have visuals that go with it, like the triple-headed eagle, or that has with the little feather. I mean, there's all different prophecies that are woven into 2nd Esdras that is so amazing when you have visuals to see exactly, and that's what the God culture does. They link all these different symbols within the book of 2nd Esdras to what's going on in prophecy today and in the future. And they have a lot of links to the book of Daniel, the book of Revelation. It's a really cool book to read through, because to me, it's a lot more clear. I'm not sure if that has to do with the English translators, that they've kind of muddied the waters on some of the other prophetic books in the Bible, like the book of Revelation, the book of Daniel. They're not quite as clear to me as the book of 2nd Esdras. Or another book, one of my favorites is the Revelation of St. John the Theologian. That is an amazing one. It looks like we might have Tim back. Tim, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. Praise God, you're back. Would you like to continue where you left off?
Sure.
Okay.
So anyway, so you have Enoch's 7 Mountains of Eden. You have the Archangel Michael, the words of the Archangel Michael, the document found in the Dead Sea Scrolls, which says that a righteous generation migrated away from that area all the way to the land where Gabriel resides, which is Gabriel resides in the Garden of Eden, according to 1 Enoch chapter 20. He specifically says that he's the angel of Eden. So these things are well known and well connected. They've just disconnected them to such a point that nobody knows these things anymore. But the data's there. The evidence has always been there. So ultimately, this land of Shur in the extreme far east connects to the Philippines definitively. The Cave of Treasures, Mount of the East, Mount of Victories, which is Mount of Purification, and the Spring of Purification all fit the Philippines specifically and perfectly. Of course, Psalm 72 tells us that is the land where the kings would come from that would bring gifts to Messiah. So we already knew that. But this just takes it all, it nails it down it gives the names of the Magi, which again we know that at least 9 of them are direct references to Philippine languages in origin. That's where they derive from, very clearly. And others that are a pretty good shot that they are matches as well. A little bit more of a stretch, but nevertheless, I mean, you're looking at linguistics that, again, the document was originally written, probably in Hebrew, really ancient Hebrew, or Tagalog, or something like that. It was then translated into the Syriac. That was then translated into the Latin, and then from the Latin into English. So, yeah, some things always get lost in translation a little, at least, especially as far as words like that. But generally, the document looks pretty solid to me.
Oh yeah, yeah. And I was just while we were having some technical issues, I was just going over your other books that have such awesome information, and that you really focused a lot on the biblical geography. And like you said earlier, that's something that biblical scholars, it seems like they're just kind of in the dark about. Like, I was wondered, for example, why they had all of the rivers of Eden in the Middle East when they were supposed to water the entire earth. But that's all we're taught. So it's like, okay.
Because Genesis 2 tells you their geography. And one of them surrounds the land of Ethiopia. When did Ethiopia move into Israel? That's illiterate. That's been nonsense all along. Why would they even bother to say something so dumb, really? But they have, other mountains, which are other rivers, which clearly, can't possibly fit what they're saying in the Middle East.
Yeah, exactly.
Hopefully you're not picking up that construction noise in the background. I've had to move around. I'm on my 4th different internet here in the compound that I'm in, so.
Oh my goodness.
It appears the other 3 have been hacked, so.
Wow.
We find this often, and we'll fix this soon. But this is our plight constantly. We're always, even trying to upload videos and things, it becomes very complicated here.
Yes, we need to continue to pray for the God Culture Ministry. They're continually under attack, basically, by who knows. I'm not sure. We're not sure exactly who, but there's quite a few that do not want this information getting out to the world. And
I mean, it would be a combination of groups. We do know that there's a communist group who's admitted to trying to harass us in hacking. They're internally inside of YouTube, Google, Wikipedia, Amazon, etc. And we're being harassed by all of those venues, by the way, every single one of those outlets. So
and
that's why we're launching an app.
Yes, the app will be great. And to give you guys an idea of what the God culture is going through in the Philippines, we were surprised. I mean, we shouldn't have been surprised, but they even have at conferences, they have security. Like they're kind of like wanted people because of the information. And it just, to me it's crazy, because they're bringing some great news to the people of the Philippines, but it's the powers that be that do not want this information out there. And as we were talking earlier, like the Vatican has taken very like precise steps to try and make sure that this information has not gotten out for like hundreds of years. So why would they stop now, right?
I mean, this document's a perfect example. Revelation of the Magi. It's been sitting there in the Vatican coffers in the monastery in Sinai since we know at least 800 AD. And it was quoted by Catholic scholars prior to that, back to the 6th century. Not just a little, by the way. The guy that quoted it quotes many paragraphs of it, so it's a very specific quote. And then it's just sat there up until 2010. Nobody translated it into a language that you could read. Anybody, most people, because most people don't read Latin. It was just lost, just sitting there lost all this time.
Yeah, it blows my mind, but I'm just so grateful that there's translators out there, even if their notes aren't that wonderful, but at least they're getting it translated for us into English. And I believe, I'm sure you do the same, believe that this is a great example of how knowledge in the last days will increase. And I believe there's going to be more books that are very similar to this one that will be coming out. I also was talking. I wanted you to if you're willing to do this, Tim, during the conference, I wanted to kind of circle back to that, just because that was such a mind-blowing event. It was so amazing to just see the people accepting their hidden history for all this time. And during the conference, Tim, you spoke, I was kind of going over the book of 2nd Esdras that you guys have published, and the introduction just blew me away, because we've used your book of 2nd Esdras to teach, here in Hawaii, did our in-person Bible studies. And just the introduction, it helped so much to understand whose library the Dead Sea Scrolls were, and the information that 2nd Esdras brings forward about the lost tribes, the second Exodus. I never even noticed that before until I started following your research on that book, and also the prophecies that you outlined so well and visually within your book of 2nd Esdras about the different kingdoms that are rising in the last days, and the Antichrist. And I mean, there's so much in that book. Would you like to go over a little bit of what you shared at the conference, just to kind of give people an idea of how you tied that book of 2nd Esdras into sharing the lost history of the Philippines, basically?
Well, okay, so regarding the Philippines, Columbus well knew and was very well acquainted with and quoted 2nd Esdras as saying in chapter 13, it talks about the migration of some of the northern tribes when they were set free, when they were in captivity in Assyria. Babylon came in and attacked Assyria at the same time they were taking the southern kingdom captive, but the northern kingdom was freed because they fought with Babylon. So Columbus knew, and so did Italian scholar Farisal, Jewish scholar back in the 1500s, like 1520 or so. He wrote a book, and it's quoted in many sources. The book's lost, but his quotes aren't. So we have that. And we can find that in several sources. But the reality is they said that the lost tribes migrated to the Philippines. Just some. Some of the 10 tribes of the Northern Kingdom stayed in Assyria, which would be modern Kurdistan. But the rest migrated to the Philippines. And that makes sense because it's the land of gold, reconnected really since the days of Solomon, and connected as the cousins of Peleg. The nephews of Peleg, but the cousins of Peleg's generations, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Israel. So all along, the term Hebrew is not just an Israelite, and that's one of the biggest, snafus in all of history in modern scholarship, and even Josephus knew better. So he didn't say stupid stuff like that. He said other stupid stuff, but not that. He got that right, and they messed it up so much. So we have this whole paradigm now that's completely backwards. And who's in charge of the Dead Sea Scroll? Fine. Oh, well, the same ones who are screwing this message up everywhere. So we spent a lot of time trying to fix the narrative to what the actual history says. And when you read the Dead Sea Scrolls, they tell you who they were. They tell you they were the sons of Zadok. Who are they? Those are the temple priests who served in the very temple in Jerusalem. That's a pretty big revelation. Oh, wait a minute. What do the books say out there? Just go to Amazon, buy any book on the Dead Sea Scrolls, and every single one, and I mean every single one, except for the books published by the God Culture, they all say the same thing. They all say, oh, they were Essenes. Really? Were they? Then why didn't they call themselves Essenes? Why did they not mention the word Essene in the Dead Sea Scroll community writings even once? Why does the Bible never mention the word Essene in the entire Old Testament? You only see it in the New Testament. And who are the Essenes in the New Testament? Sorcerers.
Yes.
Magicians. Oh, wait a minute. The same ones that they try to claim are the Magi.
Yes.
Originates in the Tagalog language. Oh, it means to pray. That's what the word Magi means. It comes from the language of their nativity, and it means prayer or silence and prayer is really what it means. Okay, so did you know that Tagalog, the word is magdasal, and it means to pray. Mag.
Wow.
Did you know that the famous necklace, and this is explosive, the famous necklace found in the Surgal treasure here, it looks like an Egyptian collar, the gold necklace, you know, the big one that they would wear, men and women. Well, it turns out that they've connected those necklaces to, in origin, the gold of the Philippines. They were created in. Now that's according to scholars that wrote books published by Banco Central, you know, the central bank of the Philippines.
Yeah.
And in that coffee table book that they published the research of this scholar who actually makes that connection, that they've tested the gold. They know the chemical signature of gold, where it comes from, and the chemical signature of that gold on those necklaces of royalty Philippines. Gee, why is that? Oh, do you know what that necklace is called? In Egypt, it's called the Shebu collar. You mean like Cebu?
Oh my goodness! Wow.
However, in Tagalog, they call it the ka, which is a prefix, Magi necklace.
Oh my goodness.
The word Magi is right there. It is the root word of Kamagi, and it's a Tagalog word through and through.
Wow.
And it is the famous necklace that's been found in Egypt. What a connection. You mean the necklace of the Magi.
Oh my goodness.
So this stuff is just, it's too much that when you do all of this research and you start finding all of these things, you just can't ignore it. You can't unknow it once you know these things. Wow.
Yeah, and just in time for the pagan holiday season as well, that we're finding all these things in this book. It's just amazing timing too. Exactly. Wow.
Hey, but you know what? At least we're singing this song that's actually accurate.
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, exactly.
There's the Christmas song, not so accurate.
Yeah, exactly. There's a comment in the chat. I think maybe you could address this. Bradley
Please.
Bear is asking about Josephus, and I mentioned that Josephus was a Pharisee, an Essene as well. Was Josephus an Essene?
He was.
In your opinion?
He grew up in Essene. In his own biography, The Life of Josephus, he says that he grew up as an Essene. He was trained in the wilderness of Ein Gedi, which is where the Essenes were. They were not in Qumran. So that's a big difference. The geographer and historian that places the Essenes, the only one to do so, by the way, is Pliny the Elder, and he was a geographer. Pliny places them in Ein Gedi, in the mountains just above it. The mountains above Ein Gedi, I mean, away from the noxious gases, he even says, because if you live right on the Dead Sea, you'd want to live far away from it, a little ways away from it, because it wouldn't be good for your health. But they did not live in Qumran. There's no Essenes in Qumran. That's illiterate. It's always been. In fact, the find in Ein Gedi, it's called the Essene find. That's what they called it in archaeology. So, where were the Essenes? They were in Ein Gedi. That's 25 miles south of Qumran. There are no Dead Sea Scrolls, absolutely zero Dead Sea Scrolls found in Ein Gedi. 99.9% of them are found in Qumran, where there is a compound that operated and is built, structured like the temple, with lots and lots of water. Why? Because John the Baptist lived there, and he was a Baptist. Hello. So there are baptisms all over the place there, lots of pools. And so all of this has been well documented all along. It's not really a mystery. It's only a mystery when modern scholarship are so inept in their interpretations. I've never seen anything so ridiculous in my life than the things that they say. I mean, how can you possibly say that in any sense that Essenes lived in Qumran when not a fingernail of archaeology is found there of an Essene, when in their local writings they call themselves the sons of Zadok, the sons of Levi, the sons of Aaron, Levites, over 100 times, and Essenes, zero. Not even one time. And yet they say, oh, but they were Essenes. No, they aren't. is ridiculously dumb. It is uneducated to draw such a conclusion, and they call themselves Bible scholars, and you have the whole paradigm. Says it. It's everywhere. That's all they say. They were Essenes. No, they were not. You got the wrong location. So there you go.
Yeah, and we've been to both sites. You know, we've showed you pictures of those, Tim, where we traveled there like 10 years ago, and it is two totally different sites. And also too, the Ein Gedi in Hebrew means eye of the goat. So to me, that's a pretty clear indicator that there's like cultish people that lived in that area, whereas in Qumran, you know, totally different location.
Further, do you know what else they found in Ein Gedi? On the synagogue there, they found the 8-pointed star of Ishtar.
Oh my goodness.
They found peacock symbols all over the place, in the tiles, on the walls, all over. And understand that the peacock angel is worshipped in Zoroastrianism. It's actually Ashmodai or Asmodeus, the demon, which, by the way, is the same etymology as the word Hasmonean. Hasmonean?
Wow.
Ooh, wait a minute. The Hasmonean revolt? Yeah, that wasn't a revolt. That was foreigners coming into the land and attacking the temple. They stole it, and they never gave it back. Never. So it was defiled 165 BC, and the Dead Sea Scrolls rail on that, tell you the history, and tell you that they were exiled by those same Hasmoneans and Pharisees to Qumran, and the priesthood was stolen. That's why Messiah did not launch his ministry at the temple. He was baptized in a place called Bethabara. Where's that? Well, Joshua places it on the northwest corner of the Dead Sea. What's that called today? Qumran, where the Dead Sea Scrolls are found. That is the community of John the Baptist, who was a son of Zadok.
Yeah, and there is water all over the place there. I mean, there is at Ein Gedi also, but in Ein Gedi, like you mentioned, there's peacocks like crazy in Ein Gedi, like wandering around over there. I mean, just like I've never seen. Yes, I've never seen so many peacocks in my life, like in the middle of the desert. I'm like, why are these peacocks over here? But there's a lot. There's and there's goats as well. Peacocks and goats are at Ein Gedi. At Qumran, no, there's neither are at Qumran, and the caves are there, and it's always kind of like insinuated a little bit when you're doing the tour, like we did the tour at Qumran, that, oh, it's possible that this group called the Essenes, who were like these holy men, lived here, and I'm just like, wait a minute, these are like the men in white who are like defiling the temple and standing at the, and praying to the sun in the east, it's just such misinformation that they're giving out here.
It is. And, it makes it impossible for people to understand. And you can get why scholars write all of these, articles and books and everything. But their foundation is nonsense, and they've never tested the foundation. I dare anyone who's watching, go and test this. Go read the introduction of any of our books on the Dead Sea Scrolls, the Book of Enoch, Book of Jubilees, Second Esdras, our 2 volumes of Apocrypha, and we have that in the introduction. We've researched that out, and we've proven that Essenes did not live in Qumran.
Yes, yeah, you proved that very well. That was a huge eye-opener for us, but it's also a really good introduction to your books, because we're looking at books that people are not familiar with for the most part. They're considered Apocrypha, so most likely if you've grown up in church like I did, you're going to probably be told by several pastors not to read books outside the 66, so people are already kind of skeptical about reading it. I'm sorry.
What is Apocrypha? What is the term Apocrypha? We use that as if it's English. Of course, it's not. It's Greek. It comes from the words apo and kryptine. When we say Apocrypha, what are we saying? We're saying these are the texts that were hidden away. That's what Apocrypha means. So what do you mean they're hidden? You mean they were in the Bible at one time? Well, we've tested them all, and they don't all pass. But most of them, yes, absolutely.
Yes. And the ones that don't pass, like Maccabees, for example, there still is, we can still take historical information that's in there. It's just not, it doesn't meet the standard of Torah, or it doesn't meet the standards that's what you prove out on your channel. From
Some of them, I would say that Maccabees, Judith, and even the Book of Esther have the very worst.
Oh, we just lost Tim again. Oh my goodness. Okay, he's having some technical issues. Hopefully he'll be able to sign back on with us, everyone. Sorry about that. We just thank you guys so much for your patience, for hanging in there with us during Tim is really being attacked technically. So if we could, let's say a prayer for him and for his safety right now in the Philippines. Their channel is repeatedly attacked like this. This is nothing new. We saw a lot of this when we were there. And like I mentioned before, they had security with them at the conference for a reason. But we just ask you, Abba, please be with Tim and Anna Schwab right now in the Philippines, and with the technical issues that are going on. Please block any attacks that are happening right now, Abba, in the name of Yeshua, your son. We just thank and praise you, Abba, that we can come to you and that you have control of all things ultimately. We thank you for everyone who's participated with us today here in the chat and who's listening to this study. And we just thank you so much, Abba, for Tim and for Anna and for their research that they've brought forward. We thank you especially also for Zen Garcia, for we know that he's listening and he's been in the chat here, Abba. Thank you so much for restoring his health, for continuing to heal him, Abba God, so that he will be able to come back in the shows and to the capacity that he was before, and even better, Abba God, that you just give him strength, Abba, and that you heal his voice, you heal his body, Father. Just thank you so much for keeping everyone safe, and anyone who is having anxiety or who's involved with Hurricane Milton right now, Abba God, we just ask for your continued protection over them and for our loved ones and family members who are affected by this catastrophe, Abba. Just ask that you place your protection over them as well. Thank you for giving us this platform in order to share truth and to study together, to fellowship together, Abba God. And we appreciate everyone who's a part of this ministry. Thank you for keeping Justin and Joy safe as well as they're traveling, and that you protect their children, Eliana and Ezra, also too, Abba God, and the ministries that they're participating in as they're traveling. We just thank you so much, Abba, for connecting all of us and for sharing truth with all of us about your creation, about your word and your scriptures, Abba God. We just thank you so much for giving us all the shalom that only comes from you, Abba. And we ask this in Yeshua's name. And thank you so much, everyone, for hanging in there with us with this study. It looks like we're very close to getting finished here. Zen, did you want to come in and say anything to everyone before we end here, brother?
Sure. I just want to thank everybody in the chat and for the continued prayers. I am hoping that my voice will get back to where I'll be able to hold conversation and be able to do shows, again, and to bring forth new research and information. But I'm really glad that you brought up the revelation of the Magi and that Tim was interested in the material. I do find it to be a fascinating manuscript, and what Tim had also brought out about the Magi being led to the Cave of Treasures, because Christ had given Adam a prophecy that he would do that exact thing. He would lead the Magi to the Cave of Treasures, and they would bring forth the frankincense, the gold, and the myrrh that Adam was given when he was removed from paradise. And so, that was a really incredible prophecy, and it's one that people don't know about unless you read the primary Adamic literature and also the revelation of the Magi. It comes forth as confirming witness for this particular prophecy.
Oh yes, it was to me when I read that word shear, and I looked it up in Hebrew because I thought, wow, this actually sounds Hebrew, and realized that it meant either song or the song leader. I thought, wow, I wonder if that has some connection to where this mysterious land is, because it didn't even sound too much like, that Brent Landau or the translator wasn't really too sure exactly where this took place. But with all the links and everything to the land of the east, to the place where the wise men came from, and all the research that Tim has done. I thought, wow, I think that he and Anna would be interested in reading this book that I learned about from you, Zen. So thank you so much for that. I mean, their lives have been changed by this book, and they're excited to read more books that you've introduced to me as well, Zen. Like He Walked the Americas, you know, the history of the Messiah. And also the journeys of Christ in Tibet. I was going to show them that book as well, because that ties into the East, you know?
Right. Yeah, I'm familiar with those as well. There's a lot that we don't know, you know. Even the Bible excludes most of the childhood, infancy, early childhood, and his early youth from the scriptures when they had once been included. Even the story of Mary was part of the ancient Protevangelium and the ancient manuscripts before they were canonized in a certain portion, you know, authorized for people to study. And most of what was read in the ancient times was excluded and kept hidden. And so that's why I think that we need to be vigilant in our research and at least study things before bringing judgment or accusation against them.
Oh, I totally agree. I mean, I've been blessed so much by your research then, and by all of these books that you've exposed and that you've been reading to all of us here in your channel. And we just encourage everyone to continue praying for Zen. It looks like the show is at an end here. Thank you so much, everyone, for all your participation. Thank you for continuing to pray for Zen and for Tim and Anna, the God Culture. And we'll see you guys at Digital Readers Club this weekend. Shaloha.
Shaloha. Be blessed all. Good night.
Okay, you too. Good night, Zen.
Good night, Lisa.